How are you? Welcome. Welcome to my video on mental approach. The mental approach, I cannot overstate it, is far and away the most important component of the journey you're about to embark on weight loss. And what I'm going to do is I'm not only talk to you about the mental approach, but I'm going to tell you how I did it. And what I want to explain to you is that the way I did it, so I'm just going to sound a little corny of that, but I promise you, it will work. Whether you have to lose 10 pounds or 100 pounds, it will work. The first, let's call it a first subcategory of the mental approach is what I refer to as making the decision. The body will do what the mind has decided it will do. I want you to get yourself a notebook. And I want you to take that notebook and write down what you have decided to do. I want you to write down anywhere from 4 to 10 things, or as many things as you want. I'll tell you what I wrote in my notebook. That I've decided that I'm going to lose this 100 pounds. I've decided that I'm going to feel better. I've decided that my life is not going to be riddled anymore with negative aspects and negative things going on. It's going to be more positive. I've decided I'm going to look better. I'm going to change my life, is what it came down to. So I want you to get that notebook and I want you to write down 4 to 10 things. Maybe for you, I'm going to lose this 12 pounds. Maybe for the other person, I'm going to lose this 25 pounds. But you write down 4 to 10 things, and I promise you, we're on our way. I know you're thinking, oh, writing a notebook. Writing a notebook isn't going to make it happen. Yes, it will. Why? Because it works. My next, category of my whole mental approach is eliminating negative words. I want you to take your notebook again, and for one day, this is what I did. I went around and I wrote down all the negative things I would hear someone say, or all the negative things I would say, and I put a check next to it in the notebook, and I would write down who said it. At the end of the first day, I had 48 checks. Unfortunately, well actually now fortunately, I was responsible for 40 of them. So what I did for myself is I knew that I needed to change. The negative words were not working. All they did was suck the life out of me. All they did was, if it was sunny, I'd say, it's partly sunny or partly cloudy. The glass, to me, was always half empty. And I'm a firm believer in, if it's not working, you've got to change it. If you go with the same thing, and if I would have stayed with the whole negative persona and negative words coming out of my mouth all the time, I promise you one thing, I'd be in the same boat I was in. Instead, I eliminated it. I wrote it down. I had a code word for myself. Again, you're probably going to say, oh, maybe this sounds a little corny. I'm living proof that it works. You know what my code word was? Every time I caught myself saying something negative, I said, dope. You know what? I don't say it anymore. Because what I did was I realized I was saying negative things. I kept calling myself on it by using the code word dope. Wrote down, put my checks, had that self-realization that, wow, I'm a pretty negative person. And nothing's going to change if I stay negative. My third subcategory in the mental approach is feelings. Now what I want to tell you is, I can't tell you how you feel. But what I want to do is show you how to recognize how you've been feeling. So again, there's two parts to this. What I want to teach you is that feeling good about yourself, about how you look, about how you feel, is far outweighs any of the temporary gratification I was getting from eating. So what I did again, I took my same notebook and I wrote down every time that I got a compliment and how I felt. The first compliment I got in my notebook, I was 12 pounds down. Here I am, I'm 12 pounds down. I'm 88 pounds away from my goal. Someone said to me, Joe, things look like they're changing for you. You're trimming down a little bit. I wrote it down. Not only did I write down the compliment, but I wrote down how it made me feel. Because what did that do? It reinforced feeling good. You know, here I am again. I'm 88 pounds from my goal. And I wrote it down. Why? Because it works. To this day, I still have that notebook. And then as I would progress on my journey, the compliments became more and more and more. And what happens is, this is not going to happen overnight, but it's a process. So what happened was, those compliments would pile up. And again, there's no cheesecake in the world. There's no pizza pie. There's no apple pie with ice cream on it. I promise you. It's going to make me feel better than the way writing that down did, the way looking at those compliments did, and how it made me feel. It made me feel great. It's like going and doing a good job at work, and your boss says, hey, I'm giving you a raise this week. That's what the compliments did. And they weren't fleeting. Why? Because I wrote them down. And writing them down to me helps you remember them and makes them concrete, because I can always go back to that. The last component of my overall mental approach is you being honest with yourself. You need to eliminate the excuses, okay? It's easy to go through life and BS everybody. You're going to go through life and BS yourself? I'm just trying to be honest with you. I'm a tell it like it is kind of person. But what you have to do is hold yourself accountable. Again, what I want you to do is go back to the notebook. And when you've had, listen, nothing in life is 100% smooth. I'm not telling you this is going to be easy. I'm only telling you what I did and the mere fact that it worked. And if it can work for me, and I was 100 pounds from my goal, it can work for someone who's in the same boat as me, or it can work for someone who's only got 10 pounds to lose. So I call myself on my excuses. You know, oh, I went out to dinner with my friends. Well, you know, listen, they were all ordering dessert, so I ordered dessert. You know what I did? I called myself on it. I wrote it down. I wrote down my excuse. And then what I did, and this is the most important, I wrote down, what can I do that's going to change that? So why? Because they ordered dessert, I had to order dessert. What could I have done? Well, I could have decided, no, I'm not going to have dessert. I could have got up and left at that point and excused myself. If, you know, I found myself making excuses when I would go to a barbecue. Oh, well, you know, I was at a barbecue. It was July 4th. Listen, everybody loves July 4th. Everybody loves to go to barbecues. But, you know, that was my excuse. So what I do, wrote down my excuse. How did I fix the problem? What worked for me? I said, you know what, Joe? Next time, be prepared. I found an answer. I just didn't have an excuse and say, well, I made an excuse. I had an answer. And you know what? Another thing that has really helped me throughout this whole journey was I'm my own best cheerleader. I talk to myself all the time. Why? Again, I can't say it enough. Because it works. The proof is in the pudding. If I've done something and it succeeds, I promise you, if you do the same thing, and it will work for you as well. I'm my own cheerleader. I tell myself, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. When it came to talking about the negative things in my life, it's in with the good, out with the bad. I'm my own cheerleader where I say, listen, sure, you want to have a piece of cheesecake? Have one. Not going to make you happy. I promise you it won't make you happy. I talk to myself. What does that do? That it reinforces I never forget. Because I talk, I cheer myself on, I push myself. So let me kind of review everything, because I know I've covered a lot of ground here. And again, all these things will stack together to help you, each one being important. So again, make the decision. Write it down, put it in your notebook, hold yourself accountable. Write down 4 to 10 things. For me, it was, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to look better, I'm going to feel better. The time for this weight to get off my body is now. Okay. Number 2, I addressed the negative comments in my life. How did I do that? I didn't just say, well, I'll remember it. No, wrote it down. And what I did is I turned the negative into a positive. What I did is I learned how to recognize my feelings. I wrote down when I received compliments and how it made me feel. And then I realized that those wonderful feelings that I felt when I was getting compliments, eating a piece of pie couldn't compare. And again, the last thing I did is I call myself on my excuses. I don't BS myself. I figure out when I make an excuse, I call myself. I say, Joe, you know what? That's garbage. That's an excuse. How are you going to fix it? And my last thing, how are you going to turn it around? My last thing is this. I'm going to impart with you a piece of wisdom